The morning the delivery trucks came, Nolan Vance was already standing in the middle of the only gravel road leading up to Ridgeway Crest, looking at 12 finished cabins sitting on the mountain above his own land. Corinne Halstead stepped out of her white SUV like she'd already won something, dressed in a cream blazer despite the early hour, telling him to step aside because the resort now had $4 million in bank financing behind it, and a man with an old pickup truck wasn't going to stand in the way of that kind of money. Nolan didn't raise his voice. He just handed her a copy of the county plat map with a single red line drawn across it, proof from the county recorder itself that her homeowners association had never been granted the right to cross his property. She stared at that line a little too long before folding the paper in half, almost like folding it could make it stop being true. What she didn't understand yet was that this was never a driveway dispute. It was the first crack in something she'd spent 8 months building on a lie. Nolan's family had held these 67 acres above Cutter Hollow for almost 40 years. The only real road up the mountain, a gravel spur called Black Pine, cut straight through the middle of his land before climbing toward the summit. His father had carved the first pass with a rented grader decades earlier, and Nolan had spent more weekends than he could count, keeping it passable through every hard winter since. He ran a small road maintenance business out of a metal building at the base of the property, which meant he understood exactly what it took to build and hold a mountain road long before Corinne ever set foot there. Her association owned a separate parcel higher up, 17 acres called Cedar Crown, tucked so far back it didn't touch a single public road on its own. Building there had never been the problem, assuming his driveway came with it. Was. Nolan didn't dress like a man who read property law for fun, and Corinne mistook his boots and his old truck for something they weren't, never once asking what he actually did for a living. When construction crews used a temporary logging road to haul in materials, Nolan didn't object, because Corinne had told the board more than once that a permanent access route would be built before the cabins ever opened. He believed her the way you believe a neighbor who's never given you a reason not to. Once the cabins were finished, and the logging road closed exactly as its contract required, a welcome sign appeared at the base of Black Pine Spur within a week, right beside Nolan's own gate, with an arrow painted straight up his driveway. He pulled it out of the ground himself and called her that same afternoon. She didn't apologize. She told him the road practically bordered her community, and he shouldn't act like a deed made him king of the mountain. The next morning she called back, insisting the bank had already confirmed full access and that a delivery convoy would be coming through his gate at first light. Nolan waited at that gate before sunrise, with a folding chair and a thermos of coffee, half expecting exactly what happened next. When the trucks rolled up, the confused driver had nothing but an address and directions Corinne had typed herself, directions that ran straight through private land, with no mention of any easement at all. Nolan apologized to him for the wasted morning and watched both trucks turn back around at the base of the driveway. From there, things moved fast. Fine notices arrived claiming Nolan owed $10,000 for obstructing community access, despite his land never belonging to the association in the first place. Corinne emailed the entire neighborhood, painting him as a bitter landowner, trying to squeeze money out of a project that was supposedly bringing jobs to the area. Flyers went up near the mailboxes with his name on them, and a few longtime neighbors started avoiding him at the feed store. Nolan stayed quiet and let his attorney do the real work until a nervous board member quietly handed him a folder of loan documents that changed everything. A forged resolution, a fabricated 20-year usage claim, and an access confirmation carrying his name beside a signature that wasn't his. It all came apart at an emergency meeting packed with residents and bank officials. Corinne pulled up an old email fragment, insisting it proved Nolan had approved commercial access years earlier. But the bank's title attorney had already pulled the complete, unedited version straight from the association's own server, and it showed the message had only ever authorized emergency fire crews, nothing more. From there, The rest unraveled fast. An altered easement map, a certified letter she'd hidden from the bank, forged board signatures, a confirmation page uploaded from her own account. The bank froze the project's final payment on the spot. A retired schoolteacher near the back of the room simply asked whether Corinne had actually read the usage statement before signing it, and her silence said everything the room needed to hear. The board removed her before the meeting even ended. Months later, Ridgeway Crest reopened under new management, with every fine reversed and the road finally being used exactly the way the law had always said it should be. If someone confidently claimed a right to something that was never really theirs, would you have questioned it sooner, or trusted the paperwork the way everyone else did? Let us know in the comments.